Hello, everyone. Hello and welcome. Welcome to August of our Path of a Magdalena program. And for anyone who's joining us for the first time, this is a year-long gifted program. And each month we dive into one of the qualities of Mary Magdalena. So we do this through a recording that we send out at the beginning of the month. The recording will also include some inquiry questions around this specific quality. And then we'll do a live event like the one today. And then throughout the remainder of the month, we will do some different social media engagement on this specific quality. And today is a very special day because our quality for the month of August is wisdom. And as you can see, I have some other wise women joining me today. They are all Magdalena practitioners, and I'd like to introduce them. So when I say your name, just give a little wave so everyone will know who you are. I have Chris Kearns joining us from the United States, Mimi Monroe also joining us from the United States. I have Lisa Guinan here with us from Ireland, and Margaret also joining us from Ireland today. So I want to thank you all so much for joining us. I want to thank everyone who's watching us live or watching later. I think it's going to be a really awesome live event today. And I really invite you to engage throughout this conversation. As you hear something, you can gauge internally, oh, how does that apply to me? Or, wow, I'm really interested in that. And then also engage through the chat, just share with us what you're thinking as you hear these different panelists in our discussion today. And also I'll pose some questions throughout. So to start off our discussion today, I wanted to share something about Mary Magdalena. So Mary Magdalena, a piece of Mary Magdalena's core work was balancing the masculine, the divine masculine, and the divine feminine energies on the planet. And actually, that's a lot of work that we do in the Magdalena Healing Program, different programs we offer too. So I want you to think back 2,000 years, just in your mind, go back 2,000 years. And think of what it was like to be a woman 2,000 years ago. What your environment told you, what the world told you, what you probably told yourself about being a woman at that time. And then we have Mary Magdalena entering with this mission, this vision of working with Jesus, among others, to balance these frequencies so they're more in equilibrium. So you think about the knowledge Mary Magdalena had to have, the alignment, so many qualities to be able to hold this vision that you may know might not even come to fruition until after your lifetime is complete. And I think as I was thinking about that, I was thinking how core wisdom must have been to holding that vision, to taking action, to being in action at the right time. So I was thinking about that, and I got really inspired by wisdom because I haven't really been fully on board for this quality yet. It feels a little daunting to me personally. So I wanted to start by asking our panelists a little about that. Asking about this quality of wisdom of Mary Magdalena. And what do you think, or what have you read or learned about the wisdom of Mary Magdalena that you'd like to share to start us off? Margaret or Mimi, do either of you want to start?
Sure, I'll jump in.
Thanks.
So it always strikes me that the historical image we have of Mary Magdalene, which is likely not accurate, was as a prostitute. And there is no evidence at all that this was true. It was something that was declared by one of the early popes and long after her life. So we don't know. But there is some interest in her having been the woman out of whom he cast the 7 demons. And so what I think about when I think of her is, here is someone living in a time when women did not have any rights whatsoever, or they had, rights through their husbands, let's say. And Mary Magdalene dropped everything and listened to her heart and followed this man she may have recognized spiritually or emotionally or intuitively through her inner wisdom. She connected herself with this path, which was likely her path and her intended path. But she trusted her inner voice in a time when women would have been scorned, and probably were scorned. I imagine she was scorned. And then you have Jesus saying, oh no, everyone is equal. Come into the fold. And she trusted his wisdom, or the wisdom that he had access to. And she trusted her own wisdom to jump in to that whole energy, that whole group, and be part of that. So to me, some of her wisdom was listening to that inner voice. And that to me is just remarkable. I think we all have it, every single one of us. And our culture tends to take it away from us when we're young, when we're told, oh no, that's not real, or you shouldn't believe that, or don't think that. This is how we think in our family or in our culture. And we lose touch with that inner wisdom. So I think that's a really important aspect of who she might have been, who she is to me, someone who listened to that inner voice and trusted it.
Yes. Margaret, what do you think?
Yeah, I like Mimi. I like to make the comparison between the accepted wisdom and in the Gospels, for example, and the hidden wisdom that's there. And what came to mind when I was reflecting on the wisdom of Mary Magdalene was the occasion when Mary Magdalene anointed Jesus with oils. And this happened again in an environment where women weren't welcome. It was a private gathering, Jesus and some hoi polloi of the time. And for me, it speaks to the depth of her wisdom. First of all, to have knowledge of the ritual of anointment, and to have the knowledge to know of the timing when that was the appropriate time for this to happen. And then the courage to go in there and not be deterred, not be stopped, what it took to go into that room and to do what she had to do. That to me speaks of volumes of the depth of the hidden wisdom she must have embodied. And then Christ's response, well, the response of the apostles and the males present, they thought it was wasteful to use these oils. They could be better used. And ultimately the response of Jesus was, and I'll just quote it here because it's a little bit of a mouthful. Truly I say to you, wherever this gospel is proclaimed in the world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her. So it was Jesus' acknowledgement of her wisdom, of what she did. And it's interesting that he used those words because they're the exact, when it comes to the balancing of the masculine and feminine, these are the exact words he also used at the Last Supper. Do this in memory of me. So there's a lot of behind, I take a lot of hidden wisdom and a lot of opportunity for ourselves and for myself then in life. Where am I living in the confines of society? And where can I step out? And where can I know the timing to bring my wisdom forward in very simple ways? So that's one aspect of the wisdom I thought about today. Thank you.
And Margaret, when you were speaking, I heard you speak, you used the word knowledge and you used the word wisdom. And I'm wondering, Chris, maybe you want to answer this or, think through this with us. What's the difference?
It's a great question. I think when I was cogitating about this, what came to me was there is not only a difference, there's a similarity. I'll start with the similarity, which is awareness. But for me, I think knowledge has a great deal to do with the awareness of what is in the outside world, education, study, learning, seeing, traveling, journeying through time, as people look through the Encyclopedia Britannica, which is now on your hand, on your phone. I mean, it's an amazing kind of awareness of what has happened and even what is happening in the world outside. Okay, so that's an awareness. But the awareness, I think, for wisdom is the awareness of what is within. Margaret talked about hidden wisdom. And I feel that as we learn how to embody all that kind of knowledge, we know which knowledge feeds us and which doesn't. We learn what nourishes, we learn what uplifts us, and we start to take in what is best for us and embody that, which I think is what Magdalena was doing. For sure, she was well educated, as was Master Jesus. And the whole fruit of that whole thing in the circle of awareness came around to like an inner spiral, creating a coherence between their knowledge and the heart that knows, as Pascal would say, the heart has reason that reason knows nothing about in his thoughts, that brilliant man. And so we have an invitation to bring what we're learning deeper into what we really know. What we really know, the inner knowing, is the essential wisdom that bears fruit for the long haul, the inner journey. And so that's what I kind of was thinking about. The awareness outside can become the inner awareness that helps us embody. And that becomes like the pearl in the oyster. The outside irritations are covered over in a hidden way to reveal eventually a beautiful pearl of wisdom. It's kind of what I was thinking about. I could go on, but I think I'll share the time.
Lisa, do you have anything on that?
I do, yeah. I'm just loving hearing what everybody has to bring on this quality. And, one of the things I love about wisdom is that it does take in our knowledge and our experience of the world to date, but it also takes in those other parts of us, like our intuition, our knowingness, our ability to listen to the voice of our soul and to follow that prompting, our ability to take in the information around us in that moment. For example, if we are with somebody, we might know what to say, but when we pick up on what's going on for that person, there might be the right moment to say it. And actually, it might be that in that moment, we might know or think we know what to say, but we keep silent. So it's all that information that happens in our interactions with people in the moment that, they can't be predetermined. And, I always think when we're breaking into some, like Mary Magdalena, she was creating something brand new. So she wouldn't have had the knowledge of, it wouldn't have been done before. So she didn't have that knowledge to pull on. So how she must have really had to engage all her faculties and really trust that inner knowing, and because it's all happening for the first time and it's fresh and it's in the moment, and the ability to be in that moment and follow the energy and the flow and the knowingness of how to move and be and act, and knowing when to be, like you're saying, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and when to be in that feminine receptivity and when to step out in the world and take action. And that's such a balancing act that cannot be predicted. It's something that we just gauge in that moment and move with the energy of the moment and that knowingness of what to do. So, yeah, I think Mary Magdalene is just such a wonderful example, and she opens all this possibility up for us.
Yeah, Lisa, I was thinking the same thing when I was thinking about Mary Magdalena's mission and how wisdom was so core to that. Wisdom really incorporates so much more. It like encompasses a whole different, a lot of different things. And when you were speaking, I'm reminded Mary Sice, who's the program director for Magdalena Healing, always says, the right conversation at the wrong time is the wrong conversation. And so when you were speaking, Lisa, those words just kept popping into my mind in terms of really the finding the right balance.
Exactly. Now when I'm listening to you, Cara, I'm thinking like the wisdom, it's actually very feminine. It's that feminine receptive flow compared to the intellect that's a lot more linear and focused.
Right.
You know, and it makes me think then of that balance between the two, the head and the heart, and how they can work in harmony, and bring forth this wisdom that's inside all of us.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's why we have the wise women on the call today.
Well, and as you all know, historically, Sophia was wisdom and was represented as feminine. And one of the things that this conversation brings to me is that wisdom has so many facets, right? The body has wisdom. For example, if it knows to heal itself if it gets cut, and it just knows to do that. It's not a knowledge, it's a wisdom. It's an organic thing that it can do on its own. And we don't sit there and say, okay, now knit together, now stop the bleeding. It's just something that happens. And I think that Mary Magdalene's wisdom was something that her training led her to, but it was that kind of organic understanding of love as a way of being, because I don't think that we can have wisdom without it coming from a place of love. True wisdom and love can be a little, it doesn't be, oh, peace and love in the easy way. Love can be very direct and very confronting sometimes. We've heard of hard love, right? But Mary Magdalene just got it, and she worked with Jesus on that. And in his work, and it comes to us as his work, but their work, he was saying all people are equal in God's eyes. That was revolutionary. And that's wisdom.
Mhm. And I think one of the most interesting things is how she was able to really understand what he was saying and teaching in the poetic ways that he did this. She understood the wisdom that was within the spaces of the words. She understood and was able to really plant them inside herself so that she was able to teach them when she went forward after he had left the planet. And I think that that embodiment is a call for all of us to really start to bring into us what we really love, what we really are called to be. So I think that's a real wonderful act of wisdom. It's based on love.
And so we are nearing the end of our time together. And I'm wondering if each panelist could briefly, because we don't have much time, share if someone wants to start cultivating wisdom in themselves, where should they start?
I would say it's in the body. It's really moving into the body and becoming aware of what's going on in each moment and building up awareness, and that will open up that knowingness and intuition and all those other qualities that we all have.
Yes, I agree, Lisa. And on that path, I would include compassion and forgiveness for oneself, because we meet parts of ourselves that are wounded, perhaps, and may feel like in the way as a block. So that surrender and forgiveness is the oil that anoints the wheels to go forward.
I feel that so fully, and I call it loving kindness. and it begins inside, and then it can flow everywhere. That's wisdom. That's Magdalena.
And I would start with the breath. Something very simple, just the inhale and the exhale. And everything is contained in that. And without that, we don't have life. So a very simple place to start is just slowly paying attention to the inhale and the exhale, and just noticing what arises from that.
And for myself, who's maybe a little less familiar with the quality, what I'm really going to do this month is pay attention to where I'm pushing too much. Like for me, I'm really clear on the connection between the mind and the heart for wisdom. And I think sometimes that it's very easy for me to get off balance. So really being aware of that connection and when I'm off balance and therefore not really able to access that wisdom or align with that wisdom for me. So I want to invite everyone who's watching this at any point in time to look at the inquiry questions that are included in the recording. They'll be posted on our Facebook page throughout this month. I ask you really think about how those inquiry questions relate to your life. And we'll post, like I said, we'll post them on the Facebook page and really engage with us, share with us. Others will learn from your sharing, from your growing, and you'll see something that someone else wrote and be inspired by that too. So as a community, let's really dive into this together and take on wisdom this month. I don't think take on's the right word. Cultivate. Let's cultivate wisdom this month. So I want to thank you all so much for joining us. I want to thank our fantastic Wise Woman panel, and we will stay in touch throughout the month and look forward to this quality of wisdom together.